I didn't need his little handouts. My husband's father lacked when I offered to help. In front of everyone, he mocked me and boasted about his multi-million-dollar venture. I felt the sting, but I didn't flinch. I stayed calm, I pulled out my phone, and sent a simple message to my financial advisor. Transfer every dollar from Belmont Industries, now. The panic in the room started almost immediately. His team scrambled. In minutes, the emergency meeting was underway. The same people who laughed at me just moments ago were now dealing with the fallout of my decision. "We don't need your little suggestions, Kate." His words echoed through my mind like poison. The entire boardroom went silent. His wife, Charlotte, flashed a fake smile. My husband, Greg, sat there, his eyes locked on the table, saying nothing. His brother, Derek, cleared his throat awkwardly. His sister, Nicole, tried to hide her smirk behind a cup of tea. I could feel their disdain, but I wasn't backing down. Before we go any further, I want to thank you for sticking around and hearing my story about how I claimed my worth, no matter the cost. If you believe everyone deserves respect, regardless of their background or gender, please hit that subscribe button. It's free and it helps get this message out there. Let's get back to the story. The previous 30 minutes had been a whirlwind. I had spent all that time meticulously explaining why their business, Belmont Enterprises, which they had boasted was valued at $53 million, was on the brink of collapse. I showed them the financials, the leverage ratios, the debt obligations that were creeping toward disaster. I had tried to help them. I had tried to warn them. But he laughed. "I've got a team from Harvard and Stanford analyzing the numbers, Kate. We don't need your small business insights." He had said that like I was the one who didn't understand the industry. I set my fork down gently. My hands weren't shaking, surprisingly. I thought they would be. What he didn't know, and what none of them knew, was that I wasn't just the quiet wife from nowhere that they had been tolerating for the past 6 years. No, I was the one propping up their empire. Every investment, every loan, every credit line that kept Belmont Enterprises afloat over the last few years, it all traced back to me. I had been quietly funding their massive expansion without them even realizing it. $42 million of my own capital had been the unseen lifeblood of their operation, and I was about to pull every last cent. I took a deep breath and reached for my phone. I didn't look up. I didn't need to see their faces. I already knew what was happening in their minds. The poor girl from nowhere is going to make her move. I stood up from the table, my heels clicking loudly against the polished floor. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "I need to make a quick call." He grinned. "Of course, business calls. Go ahead. We'll just wait here with your little advice," he said with a laugh, clearly feeling superior. I walked across the room, through the hallways lined with expensive art and high-end furniture. I knew their mansion well, but I had never felt more out of place than I did at that moment. I locked myself inside their study, a lavish room with oak-paneled walls and shelves stacked with financial books and business awards. But none of that mattered now. I pulled up my encrypted messaging app, found my financial advisor's name, and hovered my thumb over the screen for a moment. Not because I was unsure of my decision, but because I was processing the last few years of my life. How had I ended up here? How had a woman who used to be ashamed of counting pennies become the one with the power to bring their entire empire to its knees? I typed a simple message. Execute withdrawal. Full immediate effect. All funds from Belmont Industries. Cross default triggers are active. All facilities are to be called. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. I knew Marcus would understand exactly what this meant. Understood, Kate. This will trigger a chain reaction. The total amount withdrawn is $42 million, which activates the cross default clauses. This will put them in the red immediately. I sat back, my hand steady on the desk. For the first time in years, I wasn't playing the role of the good wife, the supportive spouse, the one who was always on the sidelines. I wasn't hiding in their shadow anymore. I was making a high-stakes move, one they would never forget. And Marcus, who had worked with me ever since I inherited my family's fortune, knew exactly how serious I was. This isn't just a loan. This is me taking my power back. The message sent and the waiting began. I didn't care what they were doing outside that room. I didn't care that they were all laughing and talking about nothing, pretending I was just another silent partner in the room. Their time was up. I left the study without a second glance. Their empire, built on my invisible capital, was crumbling as I walked back into the dining room. I slid back into my seat, the cold salmon still untouched on my plate. No one had noticed the shift in the air. The conversation continued, as if nothing had happened. Zachary glanced up at me. "Is everything okay, Kate?" His voice sounded forced, like he was trying to pretend there wasn't an elephant in the room. "Fine," I said, my voice calm. "Just work."
He didn't ask what kind of work. He never did. I counted down in my head, 10 minutes, maybe less. And then Adam's phone buzzed, once, twice, then it rang. A sharp, insistent sound that sliced through the conversation like a knife. "Terrence," Adam said, identifying his CFO on the line. "This better be important." He walked toward the hallway, his voice rising with every word. "What do you mean the funds were withdrawn?" he asked. "Check again. All of it?" His face went pale. And then I saw it. The look of terror, not in his eyes, but in the way he stood there, paralyzed. He wasn't speaking to a subordinate anymore. He wasn't in control. "Kate," he muttered, his voice cracking. "What did you do?" I looked at him and smiled. It wasn't a smile of satisfaction. It was simply a smile of clarity. And with that, their world was about to change. The room was still silent when Adam returned, holding his phone in a death grip. He didn't even look at me. His eyes were wide, his face ashen, and his movements were quick, almost frantic. He muttered something into the phone, his words incomprehensible, but I didn't need to hear them. I could feel the panic, the tension building in the air. This was it, the moment when everything they had built, their empire, their control, their smug belief that they were untouchable, was coming undone, all because of a text message. I could see it in the way Adam's fingers clenched the phone, the sweat on his forehead, his eyes darting around, searching for someone to blame, for someone to tell him it was a mistake. But there was no mistake. The numbers didn't lie. They were finished. I let the silence hang in the air like a thick fog, watching the realization dawn on each of them. Charlotte was the first to speak, her voice strained, attempting to maintain some semblance of composure. "What's going on, Adam?" Her eyes flicked nervously to me, her smile faltering. Adam barely registered her question. He looked at his phone again, then back at me. "Kate," he said, his voice hoarse, "you really did it, didn't you? You pulled every cent." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The numbers were all that mattered now. His eyes searched mine, desperation creeping into his voice. "You knew this would ruin us." I leaned back in my chair, my gaze steady. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel anything except the calm certainty of a decision well made. "It was never about you," I said softly. "It was about you underestimating me. You mocked my help, laughed at my warnings, and now you're seeing the price of that arrogance." Zachary, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. He hadn't looked at me once during the entire dinner, but now his eyes were fixed on mine, desperate. "Kate, please," he said, his voice almost pleading. "You've done enough. We get it, but you don't have to destroy us." I stared at him, feeling the weight of everything I had lived through with him, The years of being made to feel small, the constant sacrifices, the quiet moments where I swallowed my opinions and deferred to their family, all while quietly funding their empire. I had spent 5 years bending, shifting, adapting to their world, all for nothing. I was nothing to them. "No," I said, my voice firm. "I don't owe you anything. This isn't about revenge. This is about respect, something you never gave me." Zachary recoiled at the words. His face flushed, his hands trembled slightly. "But we're married, Kate. We're family. This is destroying everything we've built." "And what have we built, Zachary?" I shot back. "An empire of lies and half-truths. Your father has always controlled this business, and he used you, all of you, as his pawns. I don't owe you loyalty for what you've done to me. Not anymore." The silence in the room thickened, suffocating. Adam's hand still gripped his phone, but now he wasn't making calls. He was staring at me, trying to read me, to figure out what I was going to do next. The power was shifting, and I wasn't backing down. I turned my gaze to Charlotte, who was now holding her wine glass in both hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had been so sure of herself earlier, laughing at my small business insights. The same woman who had told me how lucky I was to be part of their world, to have my opinions heard. I could feel her judgment in the air, the sharp, biting contempt they all shared for me. But none of that mattered now. I was done trying to prove myself to them. "We never needed your charity," Adam said suddenly, his voice harsh, the last remnants of his arrogance slipping away. "You didn't need you to step in. Your money doesn't make you part of this family, Kate. It never did." I stood up slowly. "I right," I said, meeting his eyes. "It never did, and I'm done pretending it does." I left the room without another word, walking through the sprawling mansion like a ghost, knowing they could never touch me again. They were drowning in the consequences of their own decisions, and I was finally free of their suffocating grip. I walked outside into the cool evening air, my heels clicking against the pavement as I made my way to my car. The city stretched out before me, lights twinkling in the distance, the streets busy with life. For the first time in years, I felt like I was breathing again. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't check it. I knew who it was. Zachary, Adam, Derek, Nicole. They were all scrambling out, trying to undo what couldn't be undone. I could almost hear their voices in my head. "Please, Kate, you can fix this. You can save us." But I wasn't going to save them. I had learned the hard way that people who treated you like you were invisible would never truly see you, no matter how much you gave, no matter how hard you tried. I got into my car, the engine humming quietly as I drove through the streets, my thoughts racing. It wasn't about the money. It had never been about the money. It was about something deeper, something they would never understand. I had spent too many years hiding my worth, keeping my power silent just to be accepted into their world. But now I was building my own world, one where I wasn't invisible, one where I made the rules. The next few days were a blur. My phone was filled with messages, calls from Zachary, frantic emails from Adam's legal team, texts from family members, all pleading for a way to save their failing empire. But I didn't respond to any of them. They had made their choice. Now I was making mine. In the midst of the chaos, I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. It was time. I had inherited a considerable fortune from my grandmother, who had been a savvy investor in her own right. She had left me enough to make a real impact if I used it wisely. And this time, it wouldn't be used to prop up a family of people who never valued me.
I called Marcus, my trusted financial advisor. I'd said, "It's time," I said simply. He didn't need to ask what I meant. "You want to make a move, don't you?" he asked, already knowing the answer. I nodded. "I'm starting a foundation, the Whitmore Initiative. I want to give women entrepreneurs from working class backgrounds the capital and mentorship they deserve, without the charity, without the condescension." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "That's a powerful mission, Kate. We'll get it started. How much are you thinking?" $5 million to start, I said. "More as we grow. I'm not just going to hand out money. I want to build something real." He agreed to start drawing up the paperwork. And just like that, the Whitmore Initiative was born. The foundation would be a place where women like me, women who had been overlooked, underestimated, and shut out, could have a platform to thrive, not as charity cases, but as entrepreneurs with the resources to change their lives. And I was going to make sure it was everything the Parkers had never given me. The decision to move forward with the Whitmore Initiative wasn't an easy one. The pressure was mounting and the phone calls hadn't stopped. Every time I picked up, it was the same. Zachary, Adam, the rest of the family, they were all trying to fix the mess I had made. But this wasn't about fixing things for them. I had finally realized it was time to fix things for me.
I spent hours drafting the mission statement for the initiative, carefully outlining what I wanted to accomplish. This wasn't going to be a handout or a charity. This would be a platform for women who were overlooked by traditional investors. Women like me, who had been told they were too small, too unimportant, too much of an afterthought. The women who were hidden in the background of boardrooms and corporate meetings, their ideas dismissed or ignored because they didn't fit the mold of the right kind of entrepreneur. I wasn't just giving them a seat at the table. I was giving them a place to build something of their own. And I was going to make sure that what I built would be sustainable, impactful, and real. This wasn't about using my fortune to buy them a piece of the pie. It was about creating a whole new pie that they could own. I had learned the hard way that if you were invisible long enough, you became untouchable. And now I was determined to use that power to make sure these women would never be invisible again. The initial paperwork for the Whitmore Initiative was ready to go, but I knew this couldn't just be about throwing money at the problem. I needed partners who understood what it meant to build something from nothing. People who had been through the grind, who knew the struggle of making something from limited resources. I turned to Teresa Vance, the lawyer who had helped me get my divorce settled without too much drama. Her expertise in high net worth legal matters was invaluable, but her belief in my mission was what truly made her a partner I could rely on. I had spoken with her about my vision before, but now that the foundation was real, I needed her to help me navigate the legal side of things and ensure that the initiative wasn't just a flash in the pan. It had to be built to last. We sat down together in her office, surrounded by the sleek modern decor that always made me feel like I was walking into a boardroom in Silicon Valley. But I didn't care about any of that anymore. All that mattered was what we were about to do. "Kate," Teresa said as she slid the final paperwork toward me, "you realize you're going to have to fight for this, right?" I looked at her, not flinching. "I'm not fighting for the Parkers. I'm fighting for every woman who's ever been dismissed, every woman who's ever had to make herself small just to be allowed in the room. I'm building something that lasts." Teresa smiled, nodding. "I thought so, and I'm all in." As the documents were signed, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had made the leap. There was no turning back now. The fallout from my decision hit harder than I had expected. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the truth finally coming out. I received an email from Marcus that next morning. He had heard from some of the banks and lenders that Belmont Industries had started scrambling, panic mode. He included a few emails from the team at Belmont's finance department with the subject line, Urgent, immediate withdrawal of funding triggered defaults. I could almost hear the panic in the emails. The higher-ups in the company, people who had always looked down on me and my small-time consulting firm, were now trying to figure out how to keep the company afloat. They were trying to find new investors, reaching out to any major financial firm that would listen, but the damage was done. The more they searched, the more desperate they became. Zachary called me that afternoon. "Kate, please, we need to talk." His voice was strained, breaking under the pressure. I didn't have to say anything. His tone said it all. He was panicked, terrified. His life, his family's legacy was crumbling. But I wasn't the one who caused it. They had built their empire on a shaky foundation, and it was finally showing. "I know you're angry," Zachary continued, his voice low. "I know what you're thinking. But Kate, we were in this together. Please, just think about it. Come back. Help us out. The company is going under." I let the silence stretch between us. Come back. No. I wasn't going back to any part of their world. I wasn't going to let them drag me back into their toxic cycle of arrogance and invisibility. "You don't get it, Zachary," I said finally, my voice cold. "This isn't about you. This is about me finally choosing myself. You've spent years ignoring my contributions, my expertise, my value. I tried to warn you. I tried to help you. But I'm done. The decision I made wasn't for you. It was for me. I'm not going back." The line went quiet. I could almost hear him trying to find the right words, but he couldn't. Nothing could fix this. After the call ended, I sat back in my chair, staring out the window. It felt surreal. I had just walked away from everything I had been trying to build with him, everything we had built together. But it wasn't us that mattered anymore. It was me. It was my future. I didn't have time to dwell. I was building something new, and this time I was going to do it right. The Whitmore Initiative began to take shape faster than I could have imagined. With Marcus's help, we secured the initial funding, and I was connected to some incredible women in the business community. Women who were just waiting for an opportunity to prove their worth. We started with a small group of entrepreneurs, funding everything from tech startups to service-based businesses. But the beauty of the initiative was that it wasn't just about the money. It was about empowerment, mentorship, and visibility. I worked closely with each woman, making sure that we weren't just handing out funds, we were giving them the tools to thrive. We made sure they had access to resources, support, and a network of people who understood their struggles. Maya was one of our first success stories. When she called me, I could hear the desperation in her voice. She had been turned down by so many investors, but her passion for financial literacy in low-income communities was undeniable. Her story resonated with me. I had been there. I had fought for every chance I got, and now I was in a position to give her the chance she deserved. When I told her I would invest $200,000 in her program, the shock in her voice almost made me tear up. It wasn't just about the amount. It was about believing in her vision. And I wasn't the only one who believed. Within 6 months, Maya's program was in 8 cities, teaching financial literacy to over 12,000 families. She reached out to me one day, tears in her eyes, telling me, "You didn't just give me money, Kate. You made me visible." And in that moment, I realized that was the point. It had never been about the money. It had always been about being seen, being visible, being heard. It wasn't long before the Whitmore Initiative took on a life of its own. The momentum was incredible, and it felt like everything I had been building, everything I had suffered through, was finally coming to fruition. But as everything grew, so did the pressure. The phone calls from the Parkers didn't stop, and neither did the endless stream of media requests. They wanted my side of the story. They wanted to make me the villain, the woman who had destroyed their family's legacy. But I wasn't about to be dragged back into their narrative. I had written my own. Zachary continued to send me updates, brief texts and emails, telling me about his progress, his therapy sessions, the small investment firm he had started working for in Dallas.
The words were always the same. I'm trying to understand where I went wrong. I see now what I didn't see before. I'm sorry, Kate. I'm really sorry.
But I couldn't bring myself to respond. The door between us was closed, and no matter how much he tried to apologize, he would never be able to undo the damage that had been done. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't feel bitterness. I just felt quiet. There was no satisfaction in knowing that I had brought down his family's empire, no rush of triumph as I watched Belmont Industries crumble. All that had been left was an emptiness, an emotional exhaustion, the kind that comes when you've fought for so long and finally get the space you need to breathe. But that wasn't the real victory. The real victory was in what I was building now. The growth of the Whitmore Initiative was more than I ever imagined. We expanded to new cities, reaching more women, funding more projects. In the first year, we helped fund over 200 women-led businesses in communities where access to capital was often non-existent. The women who had once been invisible were now building, leading, and creating jobs for others. Their businesses were thriving. They were making names for themselves, proving the world wrong just as I had done. I kept a folder full of their messages, their stories, their successes. Whenever the weight of the past felt too much, I'd open that folder and read through the messages. They reminded me of why I'd walked away from everything. One message from Jennifer, a tech entrepreneur who had been rejected by 47 investors before I took a chance on her, stood out. She wrote, "You didn't just fund my business. You gave me permission to take up space." Those words struck a chord deep inside me. Permission to take up space. That's what I had given these women, and it was what I had finally given myself, too. It wasn't about the money, the empire, or the Parker's failure. It was about the freedom to be who I was, to take up space in the world without shrinking for anyone. One day, I received an invitation to speak at a conference for women in finance. They asked me to share my journey from being a quiet, invisible spouse in a high-powered family to the founder of an initiative that was making real, tangible change in the world. It felt surreal standing in front of an audience of 300 women who were hungry for success and looking for inspiration. They had all been where I was, tired of being dismissed, overlooked, and undervalued. They wanted to hear a story that could give them the courage to stand up for themselves. But as I stood on that stage, looking out at the sea of faces, I realized something. The story they wanted to hear wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't the typical rags to riches narrative. They didn't need me to be the hero. I didn't want to tell an inspiring story. I wanted to tell the truth. I cleared my throat and started. 5 years ago, I sat at a dinner table, ignored and dismissed by my husband's family. I was treated like I didn't matter. I was made to feel small, invisible. They thought I didn't have the right to speak, the right to be heard. I paused, letting that sink in. I spent years trying to earn respect from people who had already decided I didn't deserve it. I tried to prove I was smart enough, worthy enough to be part of their world. I wanted them to see me. But that's not how respect works. Respect isn't earned from people who have already decided you don't matter. It's claimed by refusing to accept their verdict. It's about standing your ground and saying, I will not be invisible anymore. I could see the light in their eyes as I spoke. They knew exactly what I was talking about. They understood the struggle. And when I finished, the applause was deafening. But what mattered more than the applause were the women who came up to me, who told me I needed to hear that. They had been making themselves small for years, just like I had. One young woman, barely 25, grabbed my hand with tears in her eyes and said, "My boyfriend's family treats me like you described. I thought I was being too sensitive." I said, "You're not, and you deserve better." She nodded, wiping her eyes, and said, "I think I'm going to leave." I said, "Good."
You should. Driving home that night, I took a detour. I passed the old Parker estate, the mansion that had once felt so imposing. The house was no longer theirs. The bankruptcy sale had been completed months ago. Someone else owned it now, and I couldn't help but notice how different it looked. Smaller, less imposing, as if the weight of the past had been lifted from it. I didn't stop. I just drove past, noting the change, and kept going. My apartment in Montrose was dark when I got home, but I wasn't bothered. I bought the building last year, transforming it into affordable housing for women involved with the Whitmore Initiative. I still lived in the same modest 2-bedroom apartment I had when I started this journey. My mother, who had never fully understood my decision to walk away from the Parkers, had questioned me once again. "You have millions of dollars, Kate. Why do you live like this?" I corrected her. "I live like myself." I made myself some tea and sat by the window watching the city lights stretch out below me. Somewhere out there, maybe Maya was probably still working on her financial literacy program. Jennifer was likely coding late into the night. 200 women were building businesses, raising families, taking up space in a world that had once tried to make them small. And somewhere else, maybe a young woman was sitting at a dinner table, dismissed by people who thought they were better than her. Maybe she'd stay silent. Maybe she'd make herself small. But maybe, just maybe, she'd remember that her worth wasn't determined by who saw it. Maybe she'd be brave enough to claim it for herself, even if it cost everything. Because some foundations are meant to fall, and some women are meant to build something better from the rubble. I had built mine, and I was never more visible or more free in my life. This was my story of claiming my worth, of building something meaningful from the wreckage of a life I no longer wanted. It wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom, choice, and respect. And in the end, I learned that you don't need anyone's permission to take up space. All you need is the courage to claim it for yourself.